Good evening, folks. This is Brian for Rumble Roses Wrestling, and I am joined tonight by my broadcast partner, Chris, and the new Rumble Roses champion.
Sargent Clemets joining these two here, fine gentlemen, in the commentator booth. That's right. You done heard good. I've done the necessary job of stripping the previous champion, Reiko Hinamoto, of what she thought belonged to her just because of who her mother is. Or, should I say, was. Because Kamikaze Rose is long gone and smiling from heaven, seeing her number one fan holding the company's prize possession instead of it being in the hands of her untalented and undeserving daughter.
And thank God for that. Seeing Reiko bring the championship belt to our commentator booth for 6 weeks straight during the Number One Contender Tournament was such an eyesore. Not because the title is some kind of eyesore, it's actually a thing of beauty. But as you said, Sarge, it was in the wrong hands and just didn't look right sitting on Reiko's sexy, slender, weak little frame.
Mighty harsh words for someone who did put in the work and wiping out almost the entire roster to obtain that championship. But whichever way you slice it, Reiko's championship reign was just like her. Short and sweet. And perhaps she was a little too sweet, seeing as she is quite devastated from losing her title that she's gone so far as to take yet another break from wrestling.
Ha! Good!
To recover physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Such a weak-minded little girl as to be that affected by a loss. I know it was a big one and by someone far more superior than her, but she should just buck up and see it as a learning experience, as to not believe too much into your own hype. I always said it was a miracle she could even get her tight little top on before competing on account of that big head of hers.
Before we get carried away from all this slander of a fine young woman, let's get back to the program. We have something special this month for you folks, and that is the Redemption Bracket,
also known as the Pity Tournament,
where all the losers from the first round of the Number One Contender Tournament get a second chance to redeem themselves. The winner of this particular tournament will have the honor of challenging our new champion, Sargent Clemets, for the title, who will become the number 2 contender for the Rumble Roses Championship. Stay tuned to find out.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the ring the number one dancing sister, Aisha.
Aisha shocked the world a couple months ago when she refused to do another world tour as the world-renowned pop star that she is, and instead chose to join Rumble Roses Wrestling to give herself a completely different change of pace. While she may have been defeated by the well-trained ninja-turned-wrestler Bloody Shadow, this pop star-turned-wrestler turned out to be no slouch in the ring.
Aisha and I actually go way back. I knew her in high school, and despite being an absolute megastar singer even back then, I was way more popular than her. And for good reason, too. When she ain't up on a stage singing her lungs out, anything else that came out of her mouth was absolute horse shit.
And her opponent, the dropout schoolgirl Candy Cane.
It sounds like the Rumble Roses fans in attendance tonight are quite divided about how they feel toward Candy Cane. On one hand, she's been a menace to the competition, fighting dirty to get a win. Most notably against Makoto Aihara, where Candy abused and injured her in a drawn-out assault outside of the ring. But then, on the other hand, I've seen some social media comments sympathizing with Candy Cane for having been disciplined quite harshly by her teacher, Miss Spencer.
Oh, here we go again with these oversensitive snowflakes signaling their virtue. Candy doesn't need your sympathy. She's a badass who can give and take punishment. But speaking of being divided, I am torn between rooting for my favorite pop star versus a girl who could easily be a rock star.
I didn't know that they allowed homeless people into the arena. You sure you're supposed to be here competing in a wrestling match? Or are you actually supposed to be outside in a dumpster fishing for your next meal?
A better question you should be asking is why you're here fully clothed in a wrestling ring and running your mouth when you should be on a stripper pole with your mouth shut.
Because as you're going to see in a moment that I have way too much talent to do that. Especially considering my entrance song is way better than that loud, aggressive, and annoying rock music of yours.
You say that like being loud and aggressive is a bad thing. In fact, I'd rather be loud and aggressive than cookie cutter and unoriginal. But enough music talk. It's time for you to face the music.
After a war of words between these two sirens, we kick off the first round of the Redemption Bracket Tournament with Aisha versus Candy Cane.
You listen to the crap that Aisha spewed.
Don't talk shit about my music.
It was just like I told you.
Look at you down there lying helpless and vulnerable, like you should be when your 50th client rejects you.
You know, my granny used to say, if you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. And I think for Aisha, she should live her life as a mute.
Yeah, totally. I mean, unless she hits the stage, of course, right? Like, she's got to save her beautiful voice for singing and singing alone, but talking is a no-no.
Candy is just dominating Aisha so far and is now putting her into a figure 4 leg lock.
You can't submit a submission specialist like Aisha, though.
Submission specialist? Hardly.
She tries for a pin and barely even gets a 1 count off of Aisha.
How's this for dumpster diving?
Candy Irish whips Aisha to the ropes and does a disappointing drop toe hold.
Yeah, I was expecting a bigger move than that.
I wasn't. Candy sucks.
Candy is working each of Aisha's legs, which means she might very well be going for the wishbone splitter submission that she used to humiliate Makoto in their first match against each other.
And now, Aisha is finally laying down some offense in this match. I really thought for a moment there that Bloody Shadow defeating her completely destroyed her confidence.
Did you really think that was enough to keep me down, orphan girl? Ain't no way you gonna save your orphanage with them skill issues of yours. You're cooked!
Just shut up!
Thank me!
Aisha wasting a little too much time here talking trash and not enough time wrestling. She even goes for a pin, and I don't even know what she was thinking with that when she's hardly done anything to keep Candy down.
Here's a kiss for your little boo-boo. Now why don't you just stay down for me so I don't have to humiliate you any further?
Candy is just taking the fight to Aisha here. We've never heard the crowd cheer for Candy like this before, nor have we seen her fight like this before.
I honestly see no difference. Still reckless and dirty like she's always been.
Which, of course, allows Aisha to poke holes in Candy's offense. Who knows how much training Aisha has done since her loss in the Number One Contender Tournament.
So if it's a fight you want, then it's a fight that you're gonna get.
Yes, Aisha, slap those tits of hers. I mean, chop that chest of Candy's.
Speaking of fighting dirty, Aisha is just stepping on Candy's throat. But thankfully, that's not enough to cut her entire air supply. As Candy is showing, she still has a lot of fight left in her. We are now 3 minutes into the very first match of the Redemption Bracket with Candy Cane and Aisha going back and forth as they lay the hurt on each other. Who will be the victor?
I honestly don't give a hoot who wins this here tournament. Whoever you throw at me is gonna get some police brutality either way.
If hunger could determine who would win this match, Candy looks like she could come out on top with all these numerous pin attempts the past minute. All the while, it seems like the crowd has taken a liking to Candy Cane, perhaps due to some insensitive things that Aisha said before their match began. Trash talking for the sake of competition is one thing, but dishing out deeply personal digs is another.
They're all the same, Brian. If any of these women are too sensitive to take a few verbal jabs at their character, what business do they have taking any actual jabs in the ring? The way I see it, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and only the strongest survive. You gotta be willing to go for those cheap shots in the ring and in life if it means it'll get you ahead of everyone else.
Well, that's where I disagree. You can get ahead in life without having to compromise your integrity or your character. It's not a zero-sum game. Everyone's got a chance to thrive if given the chance, and if they're willing to put in the work.
That's just something we tell good-for-nothings, so they can feel like they've got a chance when they really don't. Look at all the chances Reiko had to prove herself worthy of her own mama's name. But I came in and right the wrong in this godforsaken universe if a narcissist like Reiko could even hold the title even for a short little while.
The prize money is as good as mine.
Candy delivers a devastating headbanger. And what's this now? Can she finally finish Aisha off with this bridge pin German suplex?
It was a full Nelson suplex. And no, she can't, because Aisha is just asking to be humiliated even further.
We are now 5 minutes into this matchup, and it seems like no matter how much damage Candy dishes out on Aisha, Aisha just refuses to stay down. This is the cleanest we've seen Candy fight, and you can just tell that she's putting a concerted effort into keeping it that way.
That's such a polite way of saying that Candy has lost her competitive edge. Yeah, no. This lame-ass version of her feels like an empty and hollow impersonation of Candy.
You ain't saving your orphanage. It's got too much of your stink all over it.
Gone is the grit that got her wins against the likes of Makoto and Eagle with her ruthlessly aggressive tactics. What we're seeing here tonight looks all too much like someone trying too hard to employ old-school wrestling to a modern age that deserves and yearns for so much more than boring-ass technical shit.
This could all be over for Candy as Aisha has her in a head scissor leg crank.
And Candy just barely manages to escape it.
Is this match over yet? I could be training for a decathlon in the time it's taking for either of these skanks to beat each other.
You sound a little bored, but I don't know how you could be when we're watching a vastly improved Candy Cane perform in the ring tonight.
Because even if she performs high-risk maneuvers like that one, she's just a poser deep down inside. She ain't no wrestler, nor is she some kind of rock star. She's just an orphan girl trying out different costumes, none of which fit.
What a counter by Aisha. Of course she's gotten tired of Candy throwing her to the ropes.
We are now at a whopping 7 minutes into this matchup. Someone check the record books because I think this may have gone longer than Reiko's last title defense against Dixie.
I'm sure any amount of time feels long for Reiko when she ain't with her one pump chump Will.
That's my son you're talking about there. Watch it.
Sargent Clemets definitely is a better champion than little Miss Goody Two-Shoes Reiko.
I'm sure you're a great father and all, but something went wrong with him if he thinks he can hold down a girl like Reiko. Before he knows it, she's gonna get sick of his clingy and controlling ways. And even though she ain't too bright herself, I think even she will know there are much bigger and better fish in the sea.
Oh, like me?
Ha! Dream on, Gooner. I've heard you talk all nasty-like on commentary and how you talk to Reiko. Ain't no way you even getting someone as innocent and forgiving as Makoto with how much of a creep you are.
I love it when you talk down to me.
Yikes.
Candy Cane is dishing out yet another headbang on Aisha.
I bet you'd let me peg you if I offered.
You offering? Don't play with me.
Candy really wants to put Aisha down for good, and so for extra measure, she is putting her in the wishbone splitter. Will it be enough?
Here is your winner, Candy Cane.
You're so freaking lame.
Unbelievable. And just like that, Candy advances in the redemption bracket. Next weekend will determine her semifinals opponent in the match between Makoto Aihara and Evil Rose. Until then, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. This has been Brian, Chris, and Dixie for Rumble Roses Wrestling. Signing out.